Okay, so this is the walkthrough video that accompanies the first of my piano packs. Let's dive straight in with a look at exercise 1 on page 3. It's a fairly standard broken chord exercise. Here we go. So there's nothing massively challenging there. If you're a relative beginner or you're fairly new to broken chord exercises, just take it really slowly at first and pay close attention to the fingering, okay? The fingers that I've put in are designed to make it as efficient and smooth as possible for you. If your hands are different from mine and you can think of better fingerings, by all means do that, but have a reason for using the fingers that you do. Always aim for evenness and control. You'll never get it perfect, but be as even and controlled as possible. The other thing to watch out for is that tricky bit of timing in bar 4, measure 4, where we've got the semiquavers with 16th notes that suddenly appear. Those, okay, where previously we'd had triplets. You might find it helps to count to get those right. So going from the previous bar, the previous measure, bar 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and that will help you to get the speeding up and slowing down right. Don't worry about being absolutely precise. What we're really testing here is sort of finger movement and things like that, but it does help to, I've put that in to give you a little bit of a timing challenge for you to work on. Next up is exercise 2, which is on page 4 of the pack. Let's have a look and a listen. Okay, as you can probably see, that is really just a left-hand version of exercise 1. There is one important difference though, and that's in the crossover between bars 4 and 5. In exercise 1, this is the last group of bar 4, and the first note of bar 5 is that E there. Now, in this left-hand version, instead of doing the equivalent, which would be that, we're doing this and coming up to the D rather than going all the way to the F. This is to make the fingering easier, by the way, for you. And then just going over with our second finger onto the E and then back down, thumb on middle C, and starting off the descending broken chord from there. Yeah, that might be worth just a little bit of practice. Yeah, just isolate it and play it a few times so you can get it comfortable. Now we have exercise 3, which is also on page 4. What I'll do is just play it through, but rather than just playing the 5 bars that are written, I'll keep the patterns going in right and left hand and play maybe an extra sort of 4, 5, 6 bars. Here we go. Now this exercise is really designed to test your coordination, yeah, doing slightly different things in both hands. And the secret to mastering it is to really have that right hand scale, the B flat major scale, down confidently. Now if you had piano lessons as a kid like I did, you're lucky because this scale was probably ground into you. But if you didn't, then the place to start is just with the right hand, running that scale up and down using the fingering that I've suggested, because that is the optimal fingering for this scale. Once you're confident with the scale, begin to put the left hand chords in, and as I say, keep running it beyond that bar 5. Yeah, you'll find that the scale gradually goes out of sync with the chord. You know, you'll stay in beat, but you know the next 6 bars won't be as the first 5 bars have been. So get confident with it. It might be a little bit tricky at first, but see if you can get to the point where you can play it for 2 or 3 minutes without any mistakes. Also, as ever, go for evenness and control, and as you get more confident, try to add a bit of musicality, maybe get louder and softer, see how much control you really have. Here we have exercise 4, which is on page 5. Now this one is quite tricky, so watch carefully. The way to get started with this is very, very slow and maybe working just on the right hand to start with, even if you're relatively experienced, because you probably didn't do the blues scale in your childhood piano lessons if you had them, yeah? So take it really slowly to start with. It's not quite a pure blues scale because I've dropped that D in to kind of even the arithmetic out against the left hand. With the left hand chords, in bars 1 and 2, that pattern where we've got the 2 C major 7 chords, I haven't labelled them, but that's what they are, 2 C major 7 chords next to each other. You can play them tied if you like, or you can do what I did, and I think this is probably better, is to put them down twice, which is as they're written, before moving up to that shape, the D minor 7 shape. Because of the bigger, more complex chords in the left hand, this might take a little bit longer to put together. Also, you've got this kind of awkward stretch there. Yeah, now the way to do that is to, hold on, let's get the fingers right, 3rd on there, 4th on the B flat, is to really sort of swing off the B flat. It's like you're a basketball player swinging on one foot, yeah? Really stretch your fingers out and do them some good. Exercise 5 on page 5 is our right hand lick in C and then in F. What I'm going to do is play it through 3 times in each key so you can get a careful look at what I'm doing. Now the really important thing here is to exploit the percussive qualities of the piano as an instrument. We're less interested in precision of notes and timings and things like that. It's more kind of like playing the bongos, yeah? Yeah, so really get that hand moving, really get some sort of percussive power in. What I don't want to see here is kind of, you know, sort of perfectly curved classical fingers, because you won't get the effect if you do that, yeah? So if you've had classical training, this is the time to really kind of, you know, let your hair down and really let your fingers and your hands slap on the keyboard and get that very kind of licky effect. The other thing to do here is to try it in other keys so you can get a sense of how the shape changes under your hands in those different keys. So for example in E flat, yeah, and in various others, you know, run it up and down the keyboard in lots of different keys. Exercise 6 on page 6 is a slightly longer one. Let's just hear a sample of me improvising on the progression in a very simple way, and then I'll talk about it. Now the thing to remember here is that in the right hand you don't have to go beyond the 6 notes that I've specified in the first bar, in the first measure. So we've got the F pentatonic scale plus another F at the top, and all you do is play around on those notes while playing the fixed chords underneath. Yeah. Couple of things here. If you're relatively new to improvisation, don't even go for all 6 notes, just go for 1 or 2, okay, or 3, yeah, and gradually build out from there. Also, a really good approach will be to pretty much memorize the left hand first, kind of get it automatic, so then you can play around over the top. Yeah, and that once you've got the left hand really kind of automatic, it makes it much easier to improvise, even if you're just doing so on 1 or 2 notes. When I do this kind of thing, people always say to me stuff like, oh, well, it says an A in the right, but in the left hand chord there's an A flat. Can I do that? Is it allowed? Yes, of course it's allowed. It's a good crunchy sound, absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever, yeah? So have a go with it, try to keep reasonably in time, don't be kind of too religious about it or play against a click track, although you can try that later if you want to speed things up a bit. But as always, listen to the effect that different combinations of notes and chords give you. Okay, that's one of the really important lessons to learn here. It's really easy when you're starting out with improvisation to get obsessed with pressing the right notes at the right time or whatever, and you forget to listen. It's at least as important, and probably more so, that you get a sense of the sound different things create for you. Okay, and then we come to our piece, Seriema, which you'll find on pages 8 and 9 of the pack. Let's have a listen, and then I'll give you some pointers on how to play it. Okay, so there we go. To answer the question that is probably on everyone's lips, it's the name of a bird. Yeah, we went to our local bird of prey centre a couple of weekends ago, and the bird that I really took to was this thing, the Seriema, which doesn't look like a bird of prey. It kind of looks like a kind of an agitated chicken, but I really liked it. I thought it was really cool, so I wrote a piece of music about it, and here it is. Now, to make this work, it needs to be kind of free and easy, kind of devil may care, kind of relaxed, kind of, you know, light touch, but at the same time it doesn't want to be sloppy. Yeah, so you need some discipline there, but it needs to be kind of elegant and carefree. And the trick to getting that right is to obey the tempo marking, so moderately with a swing and perhaps a little rubato. So with the swing is the easiest part of that. Make sure all of those quavers, those eighth notes, are really swinging. Okay, you can have some fun with those. So a real good hard swing on those. The rubato thing, if you're not familiar with the concept of rubato, it's the Italian word meaning robbed, but it basically means that you can stretch the time. So you need a bit of a pulse going on under here, but you can speed it down and slow it up, and sometimes maybe anticipate the beat or delay the beat for particular musical effect. Yeah. A really good example of that, a really good place you might try that is the transition between bars 19 and 20, measures 19 and 20. By the way, I'm going to be assuming you've got the score in front of you, so have a look at that, bars 19 and 20. It's this bit. Okay, so what I don't think I did it in the performance. I think I was quite strict, but what you could do is just come in ahead of the beat there on that chord there. So if you counted this, I wasn't going to count it because counting against that offbeat in the left is really hard, but there you would have heard that chord come in just slightly ahead of, just slightly before bar 20 officially came in, as it were. So play about with bits of rubato if you like. Rubato isn't a get out of jail free card, okay, for sloppy timing. If you're messing about with the timing, do it deliberately. Yeah. Now in the right hand, obviously it's a very kind of melodic piece. In the right hand, I want this kind of elegant and carefree style that I'm talking about, but don't worry about making it kind of too classically legato. I don't want that. It can be a little bit edgy, a little bit jumpy. Yeah. A good example of that is the kind of middle section type bit from the final beat of bar 8. I was kind of exaggerating it a little bit there, but you know that right hand there was quite edgy, quite spiky. When you're playing something like this, a trick that I find often helps is to sometimes sing along. I was singing along when I did it in the performance. I just turned the vocal track down so you couldn't hear it, so it didn't put you off, to sing along, but also to kind of imagine it's being played by a band and think what instrument will play this line. And it's quite nice to think of that as a kind of trumpet line. Da 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 ba 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 da 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 da. Our trumpet would struggle to get it, your trumpeter would be working pretty hard. But think about the kind of articulations a trumpet would use if it were doing that. Whereas I think of the main theme, da 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 da. That's more of a sax line, isn't it? So that's a bit smoother, yeah. So thinking about those things in those kind of terms can really help you with the articulation there. Left hand is not too bad. Don't get too obsessive about being legato in the left hand. Just move around. Use the sustain pedals to stick things together. Kind of where you can really have fun in the left hand is with these jabby chords in the middle section bit. Especially on this bit, it's my favourite bit of the whole piece. Right, da 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 da. Yeah, so ba da ba da da ba. It's like little band stabs underneath. Yeah, so go for that, and then you've got this quite sweet bit. And give that little G down there a good shove. That, and if you know the technical terminology, tonic chord, major 7. In the first inversion, in other words, the G in the bass here is a really lovely, rich sound. If you wanted to play about this, you could even double it up. Yeah, and then you're into it. So kind of have some fun with this, play around with it. You will notice I've put the chords in, and that's because I want you, if you want to, once you've mastered it, kind of start improvising on it. Just kind of play around with it, take it a bit to have fun with it, explore what I've done here, and don't see it as kind of set in stone, a thing that you must play exactly as it is written. And if you do have a good time with it, and I hope you do, and you want to record it, that would be fantastic. Either send it to me or even post it on the thread in patreon.com where I post the piano pack. I'd be really delighted to hear anyone's performance of this. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of the walkthrough video. Any questions, any comments, either email me, or if you can, stick them on the Patreon thread where I posted the piano pack to start with, and then we're kind of keeping all of the comments in one place rather than putting them on the thread under this YouTube video, which can only be seen by people who've got the piano pack anyway. Stick them on Patreon, and then everyone can see them. Okay, hope that was useful. Next piano pack will be out about a month after this one, so keep an eye out for that. Comments, questions, feedback, always welcome. Happy piano playing.